Hi HipKit friends! I'm excited to be here with you today to share another layout for HipKit Club using the November kits. So I am doing a product focus today on the dies that came in the November kit and then also the color kit. So here you can see I'm using the geometric die that came in the November kit, and it is fantastic. I'm using it kind of on a small scale. So I cut 2 3/4 inch squares, and then I ran those through using the die to give me squares that kind of have the pattern going all the way around the edges. So I really liked how that looked and how much texture that adds to the layout. So what I'm doing here is I am using colors from the fantastic November color kit. I absolutely loved everything in that kit. So this color that I'm using here is a beautiful shimmery gold called Christmas Cheer, and it's a Shimmers, the original formula of Shimmers. And so it comes already wet, and then you just mix it around, make sure you get all of the flecks of gold and shine, and then add it to whatever you're working on. And then the second color, the green that I'm using, comes dry. It's a Creamies that came in the color kit, and it's a beautiful green called Pining for You. So I am just adding that onto the pieces that I have cut using the dies. And I just have a piece of acrylic. It's actually the cover of another pad of paper that I use for when I don't want to get my craft mat underneath all dirty, and it just helps catch some of that color. So I'm just putting it on there. This is not like a real skilled technique. I'm just using a brush that I love to use and adding that on. So the blue was La Peace Dance from the September color kit. It's also a Creamies, comes dry. And then the last one is an Inklings Bahama Mama that was also from the September color kit. So those were the 4 main colors that I used. I am going to go back and add just a little bit more gold now that it's dried, because I want it to be pretty vivid colors. So I'm adding just a touch more. The others are very vivid, but that one's so shimmery I wanted a little more of the yellow shade. So here I'm just using a piece of solid white mixed media cardstock, and I am using an ink that was also in the November color kit. So this is Passion Fruit. It's a Pink Fresh dye ink, and I am using that with just a foam blending pad, and I am going around and adding that to the background. I don't want it to look perfect or anything like that, but I did want to leave a white border around the edge just so there is a little bit of white space on the background, not a whole lot. And so I'm adding that color using that blending brush. This is very easy to do. And then here I am taking that same ink pad. I just kind of splotched it onto my craft mat and added a little bit of water. And I'm going around and adding splatters as I go. So what I love about this is, and I'm actually just dipping it right into the water that I had added on the craft mat. So what I love about doing that is it's using the same ink pad, but it's giving you 2 different color variations of the same thing because I've used it in 2 different ways. So you definitely can tell on the background. And then I just sprayed a little bit of water on there to kind of pick up some color, just to help it give a little bit of texture. And then I am now going to use the ink pad, that same ink pad, in a 3rd way, and you're going to see that it almost looks like I have a 3rd color on there. So this is one of the beautiful one of the beautiful stamps that came in the November kits, and it's music notes, and I am using the ink directly on the stamp and pushing that down around. And I don't want it to be perfect. If I did want it to be perfect, I'd put it in like a stamp folder or something like that, or put something behind it as I'm stamping it, but I really don't want it to look perfect. So it's okay that there are some spots in the middle that didn't get inked, or that doesn't bother me at all, because I'm trying to just give it a little bit of visual interest to that background. So I did spray a little water while it was still a little bit wet to pick up some of it because I don't want it to be perfect. There, I'm just giving you a close-up. It is beautiful. Love those. Love that stamp. And so here what I'm doing is I have cut these squares. They are 2" by 2". So I'm going, and these are patterned papers from the November main kit. And I am cutting, or I'm going around the edge with an edge distressor, my Tim Holtz edge distressor, and tearing up those edges. So this will give a little bit more texture to the layout as well. And then now I'm adding craft foam to the back. This is just cheap craft foam from my local craft store. Adding my own adhesive to the back. And then I'm going to be popping those up. You'll see in the middle of the dies that I cut. So it's almost time for that. Checking to see if those are dry. They were not quite dry, and I sat it down on the background. So note to self, check it before you sit it on your background. So I am going to take it off of this acrylic sheet that I have. If you let it dry, because those are some great mediums, they do get sticky when they're wet, and they will stick to that background if you leave them there for too long. So I didn't want them to dry completely on there and be like glued down to it. So just a little tip, but make sure and move it around after you add that color. Okay, and here I'm using another piece of patterned paper from the November main kit to back my photo. That was the back of the ornament patterned paper that I used on the last layout that I shared. Love that piece of paper, front and back. And here I'm pulling out embellishments from the embellishment kit. Most of the embellishments, actually I think all of the embellishments on this layout are going to be from the November embellishment kit. I'm adding craft foam to that as well, and you'll see why here in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and take my squares that I've cut using the dies and then inked with the color kit, and I'm going to place those on the background where they're going to go. And I'm using a T-square ruler to help me get the placement of those. I'm just kind of playing around with it. So the main thing here, I used 4 colors of mediums to add to those dies that I cut. So the main thing here was I just made sure that there weren't 2 of the same color next to each other. So the pattern is not continuous. I did break the pattern, like I put them in different orders, but there's no 2 colors that are the same next to each other. And so I'm using my T-square ruler on the left side, you can see, to make sure I'm lining those up evenly. And then I did use another little ruler at the top to make sure I'm doing it straight across. So I'm a little bit particular. If I want something to be straight, it needs to be exactly straight. So that would drive me nuts if it was crooked on the end. So then what I'm doing here with the glue, I do use Scotch tacky glue. I am just putting glue in the middle of each of those squares. So I want the edges to kind of stick up and add texture to the layout. So the edge I did not glue or add adhesive all the way to the edges of those. I just put a few glue dots in the middle just to make sure it holds on. There is another medium underneath it, so I did use wet glue. And I am only gluing in the middle. And because I'm going to be covering it up here in a second, you'll see with those patterned paper squares, doesn't matter if the glue kind of leaks through. It's totally fine. I'm just going around each side and making sure it's all straight. And I did not measure any of those things per se. I really am just using the rulers as a straight edge. And then here I am adding my patterned papers. So the main thing here on the patterned papers that I picked, I didn't want to put a yellow patterned paper like that one I just glued down. I wouldn't have wanted to put that on a yellow square because I was trying to vary the colors as I went around. So the patterned papers are all mixed, and then the squares are all mixed. So this is the placement of where my photo is going to go. Where I was envisioning it going is kind of right there in the middle. And now you'll see me adding, these are chipboard ornaments from the November embellishment kit. They are gorgeous. They have silver foiling on them and they're nice and sturdy. Already have great adhesive on them, so I didn't add any more adhesive to it. I did add a little bit of craft foam behind the edges that were hanging off because those pattern paper squares are raised with craft foam. So the edges that are hanging off, I am adding craft foam just to make sure it's all on the same layer or same level. And I'm kind of randomly placing them, keeping them tight around my photo, but they're not like in line with one another or anything like that. I kind of have them randomly placed just where I liked how they looked. And I did try to pay attention to them not sitting on a patterned paper that's the same color as they are, so that does help. And that's one of the wonderful things about the color kits is that all of the colors coordinate. So the embellishments, the patterned papers, the color kit has, you know, mediums that are coordinating colors. So you don't have to put any thought into all of that. It's done for you. All right, and now is my favorite part, which is the embellishing part. So I am going to be using a couple of different things for my title. So the pieces that I'm gluing down right on top of the photo say, "Oh, what fun," which I love that phrase for Christmas from the song. And I did add just a little bit of wet glue. Stickers, I usually always add adhesive to, just so over the long haul that I make sure that they stick down really well. And here what I'm doing is I'm going back and adding some little chipboard pieces to the centers of these ornaments because they are open in the center. So I added a star in the top left. I'm adding that heart in the bottom. And I am popping them up on craft foam. So I want them to be raised a little bit from the ornaments just to give visual interest and depth and texture to the layout. That pink heart, it is inside of a pink ornament, but for some reason that did not bother me on that one. The other ones I kind of varied the colors that were in the center embellishments, but that one's pink inside of a pink ornament. And I love how it looks. I love the little heart sitting there kind of on the corner of my photo. And this sweet photo is of my two babies with their cousins. So one of our Christmas activities from last year that we did, Moody Gardens. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking my X-Acto knife or craft knife and poking holes because I am going to be adding thread to make the ornaments look like they're hanging from the top. So I'm going to use, so the four main colors that I've used on this layout are a blue, kind of like a navy blue, and then the mustardy yellow gold, a red, and then almost like a turquoisey color, kind of like an aqua, between aqua and turquoise. So my threads, I'm going to be using 4 threads for the 4 ornaments, and the threads are going to coordinate with those 4 colors. So I've got a lot of repeating things here. And there is pink too. So I guess there's 5 main colors, but 4 main colors in the patterned papers. And then I'm going to be adding this word Mary as well. So I added all the threads. I didn't make you watch me do all of those, but you can see the threads hanging from the top to make the ornaments look like they're hanging down the page. And then I added that Mary is from one of the embellishment pages from the embellishment kit. And I'm going to add a few more little pieces of titles. Sweet little phrases that go with the theme of the layout. One of them is about being around people that make you feel merry or something like that, something sweet. and then about family. You can see this better in the close-up photos. So this layout, like all of the layouts I make, it's very, very layered. So there's lots and lots of layers of different things that I'm adding here, all kind of on top of each other. So I am trying to keep the embellishments and all of those things central around my photo. So all of it is working around the photo to try to draw your eye into that photo. Here I'm going to add a couple little embellishment clusters of the chipboard and puffy sticker stars in those same coordinating colors. I am adding glue to those stickers just to make sure they're good and stuck down. And then here what I'm doing is I'm just going and adding a few little small details. So these are just some sequins and little crystals from my stash that match everything that's going on the page. Those are from Buttons Galore and More. Little sequin mixes that go with the Christmas feel. And I'm adding those around just the little clusters that I've got. And then this last little bit that I'm adding is Nuvo glitter drops that also came in the color kit, the November color kit. So I'm adding those around, just in little 3 dots at a time. And that's going to be it. So here I'm going to have some close-up photos. I hope you enjoyed watching the process and that you will subscribe to the Hip Kit channel and tap the bell for notifications of new videos. There's a new video every day, and you can like the video and comment below. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks. Bye.